Coming up in this week's episode of the Irreverent Nerds podcast, Will and I sit down to discuss the cult classic 1993 film Super Mario Brothers, starring John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins, aka John and Bob's Excellent Adventure. Stay tuned for more right after this. I'm Richard.
And I'm Will.
And together we're
The Irreverent Nerds. Bum, bum, bum.
Nerds, I have some exciting news to share. As of today, we are now offering a monthly subscription service for our listeners. For the low price of $2.99 per month, subscribers will gain access to 2 bonus episodes and an invitation to 1 Zoom gathering a month. Additionally, every subscriber will be entered into a monthly drawing for an appropriately nerdy prize. Click on the link in the episode description today to get started.
Nerds.
Will and I
and Will
are
Wait, that's
here.
me.
We have just watched Super Mario Brothers. It's Mario Brothers, according to John Leguizamo, not Mario. It's Mario, right?
Mario.
Super Mario Brothers, the 1993 live-action cult classic.
Cult? Yes.
And we just have one question for you. Do you trust the fungus? Will, do you trust the fungus?
I trust in the fungus. But how did this movie ever get made?
As a matter of fact, there's a podcast called How Did This Get Made? And it wouldn't surprise me if they've done an episode on this. But I have not heard it if they had, so we're not going to be retreading any of their...
I want to watch that. Or listen to it. I want to listen to that.
Yeah. How did this get made? So, plug for a cousin, but no.
I want to listen to that.
They have no
episode.
idea we exist, so I doubt that they would ever hear this, but you never know. You never know.
I love this terrible film. I want to know everything about it.
I know, this is one of those where you're like, there's just something pleasant about walking down 90s nostalgia lane. Like, I was excited.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. I was excited going into this. And
Are you still excited?
I'm excited to talk about it. I knew it would be fun, because like movies like this, they're fun to make fun of. And then if there are aspects of it that surprise you and you're like, hey, that's not that bad, then you can talk about that too. And it's like, hey, you go into it expecting to have some fun either way.
Oh, yes. The fun we had.
We did indeed. And now, Will, this is your 4th or 5th time seeing the movie, or
like
more?
my cajillionth time seeing this movie. I must have rented this VHS tape I don't know how many times when I was a kid. I especially loved the dance scene about the do the dinosaur because I was a kid.
Everybody do the dinosaur. Or no, was it Everybody Walk the Dinosaur?
Yeah, Everybody Walk the Dinosaur. You're right.
Everybody Walk the Dinosaur. Which, by the way, I recognized that. I was like, where have I heard that? And then I realized it made a little cameo on one of the Ice Age films, which obviously John Leguizamo voices Sid the Sloth. Sid the Sloth.
Well, it just comes full circle, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I'm sure that was his idea, or it was the filmmaker's idea just to poke fun at him, one of the two. But I'd heard it, I was like, oh, that's perfect. Of course they would put it in there.
Of course.
I think it must have been the third one. Yeah, I know what it is. It's the end credits for the third Ice Age where they meet the dinosaurs. So it's Everybody Walk the Dinosaur. That's great. Which my kids like the Ice Age movies, and I do too. Honestly, the first one's still the best, but the third one's enjoyable because
everybody loves Raymond.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Raymond's in it, and then you got Simon Pegg who comes in on the third one, and he plays. Oh, what's that character's name?
Is he the pirate?
No. That's the fourth one. The fourth one has pirates. The third one.
How many did they make?
Darn it. They're up to like 5 or 6 now. And I think John Leguizamo has voiced Sid for all of them. I'm pretty sure. I think they're on number 5. Yeah. Now Disney owns it now because they bought Fox. So now they're on Disney Plus. So I think they made a new one not too long ago that was only for Disney Plus.
Really? I had no idea.
You guys got that for free.
When does the live action Ice Age come out?
Never.
This is what we want to know, Disney. We know you're making it.
My hair's not fat. It's poofy. Sorry. Yes. Anyway.
I think I really hate the those Weasel brothers.
Oh, really? They're annoying, which I think they're supposed to be. But yeah, they're possums actually, like ancient
possums.
Ancient possums, yeah, like prehistoric possums.
So anyway, Walk the Dinosaur.
Yeah, and then what was that song they were playing for the Goomba dance?
I think it was something from public domain that they didn't have to pay for.
Probably.
They spent all their money on those crazy cars.
Oh my goodness! Of course, some of them were just so they took what it looked like. Particularly the police cars are the ones I noticed I mean, they get the most screen time, I think. But they took early '90s those like Chevy Caprice classics, from the early '90s, those big tanks, one of those, one of those American-made cars that they used to see as a police car. They took those and they put what looked like a front-end loader, like the bucket for a front-end loader. They hooked it, like they welded it to the sides of the car, and so it's out in front there, and they painted it blue, the same shade as the police car, and
they had this wire up top like a bumper car.
Well, yeah, because these were electric vehicles, more or less. Like they were powered because like when the city power grid went down, or when they left the city, like when like Mario and Luigi were driving one at one point, and they went into a tunnel and they left the city grid, it lost power. So
yeah, but it's really inconsistent because the Koopa cousins had some sort of vehicle out there that I think had one of those wires coming off of it, but it worked just fine in the desert before they crashed it anyway.
Yeah. So
we're jumping all around the place.
Yeah, well, this is our intro, So right off the bat here, first re-impressions. How many nerd hats this time around? Like, what would you give this film? I know as a kid you would have given it a lot more, but like now as an adult revisiting it once again, how many nerd hats would you give it?
I don't think I can be impartial.
There's too much nostalgia here for Will, which I totally get that.
It's a terrible film. I just love it for all of its terribleness, but it really is it's not.
It's so bad it's enjoyable.
Yes. I mean, it's not a Mario movie. It is, but it's not. I love Bob Hoskins as Mario. I do not like John, what's his last name?
Leguizamo.
Yeah, Leguizamo. I do not like him as Luigi. But, I grew up watching, I also grew up watching this, but, I was watching the Super Mario Super Show, and I'm glad that the actors were younger, but not so glad that Luigi was that young. I mean, what is he?
I guess he's supposed to be early 20s.
Yeah. Are they even related in this film? Did Mario adopt Luigi?
It sounded like either he was like maybe a cousin or a nephew. They don't really explain that, or he might have adopted him. He's like, he's my father. No, he's my uncle. He's my brother. He's all those things.
But yeah, I don't know how many nerd hats I would give it, because whatever I would give it is more than it deserves. It really is. If it wasn't for the nostalgia and just the pure spectacle of it all, that this was supposed to be a Mario movie, I really don't know. I really don't. It lives up to all of its terribleness, but is it a good film? No, it is not. I don't know. 2 or 3 nerd hats? I'm not. That's probably too many.
I was going to give it 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking 2. Um, I thought about giving it 2.5, and some of this is definitely the nostalgia factor, even for me. Like, even though I realized as we were watching, I was like, I've actually never seen this. It's one of those that it's just around. Like I heard of it obviously a lot as a kid. There's probably toys. I'm sure I probably had some of the toys or saw the toys. Probably got a Happy Meal toy at some point. Who knows?
I wanted those boots as a kid. I want those boots.
And I thought I had seen it, or at least seen part of it. But as we were watching, I was like, I haven't seen any of this. I've only maybe some clips or something at some point. So this was, I went in a Super Mario Brothers virgin. And
well, this movie deflowered you.
Yes. No,
in the worst of ways. Forcefully.
Oh man, but the reason it felt so nostalgic, it evokes so many memories of like 80s sci-fi action films, like the production design in particular, like with the city. Like, it reminded me of movies like Blade Runner, or there's a movie that Arnold Schwarzenegger was in. Oh, I cannot think of the name of it right now, but the production design reminded me a lot of 80s sci-fi, and also another 90s sci-fi film. I think I mentioned this to you earlier today, Will, that I would compare it to, honestly, is The Fifth Element with Bruce Willis. Have you seen that?
You would compare this to The Fifth Element?
I would, actually. In terms of, like, the production design reminded me, and even the tone, like the goofiness of it, the tonality reminded me of The Fifth Element. But that's where The Fifth Element, I think, particularly with the main female character, there's something they're able to evoke enough seriousness into it that it didn't go total goofball. But it got pretty darn close, I have to admit. The Fifth Element is weird.
I'm going to have to rewatch The Fifth Element now, because
it's a weird movie.
That seems like a bizarre comparison.
If you rewatched it, you would see what I'm talking about.
But it has to be a better film, though. I mean, not as beloved to me, but
I would say better. Yeah, I would say better, but not a lot.
The only thing I remember about The Fifth Element is our main character, some weird alien at some point, and the fact that I had a crush on the redhead. That's all I remember.
I don't remember her character's name, but Mila Jovovich is the who was in the Resident Evil movies. I think is one of the other things she's well known for. But yeah, she was probably in her early to mid 20s at that point. So yeah, but very very beautiful, that's for sure. But yeah, you had Bruce Willis, probably 10 or 15 years older than her at that point, at least.
Oh yeah,
like as far as the actors,
he was real young back then, Bruce Willis.
Yeah, this was like mid to late 90s, so he probably would have been in his 40s, I think.
Oh, okay.
Something like
younger than now.
Yeah, a little older than me and you, I think. Let's see. So we don't get too far afield here. How about we read the plot here?
And what a plot it is.
We have pulled this synopsis from ye olde Wikipedia, because they do. Wikipedia does a great job. We've used them a lot. And anyway, we're gonna take turns reading paragraphs here, and then regale you guys with the story of Super Mario Brothers.
Mario.
So, following the impact of a meteorite into the Earth 65 million years ago, the universe is split into 2 parallel dimensions.
Oh no!
Surviving dinosaurs escape into the new dimension, evolving into a humanoid race and founding the city of Dino Hatton. Because why not?
Did they even call it Dino Hatton in the film?
That's a good question. I don't know if they mentioned that. In 1973, a large egg and a rock are left at a Catholic orphanage. The egg hatches into a human baby.
What do you think the impact was on the Catholic nun's faith?
We can explore that, but let's get through this. Let's get through this plot synopsis first.
Being as reverent as I can. 20 years. Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah,
20
it's
years
your turn.
later, Italian-American brothers Mario and Luigi Mario working as plumbers in Brooklyn. Okay, I'm going to stop now in case you can't understand what I'm saying. Are close to being driven out of business by mafioso Anthony Scapelli's construction company. I thought they were plumbers.
Scapelli.
I thought they were. I thought he had a plumbing company. Their construction. Why would you call a construction company to come out and fix a dishwasher?
I think it's one of those where he has his hand in many pots.
Okay.
So they had a plumbing company, construction company, a bunch of stuff.
Luigi meets Daisy, a New York University archaeology student, who shows him she has been excavating for dinosaur bones under the Brooklyn Bridge, of all places. There they witness Scapelli's men sabotaging it by leaving the water pipes open. Mario and Luigi fix it, but Iggy and Spike, henchmen and cousins of Koopa, the king of the other dimension, I have so many questions, kidnap Daisy and the brothers, pursue them through an interdimensional portal to Dino Hatton.
Daisy learns she is descended from dinosaurs and the long-lost princess of the other dimension. Her father was overthrown as king by Koopa, and her mother, the queen, was the one who took her being Daisy, to Brooklyn. Iggy and Spike realize that they lost Daisy's rock. In fact, a meteorite fragment that Koopa needs to merge the worlds, believing only Daisy can do so because of her royal heritage. Mario and Luigi rescue Daisy, aided by Toad, a good-natured guitarist who was devolved into a Goomba, a semi-humanoid dinosaur, as punishment for a protest.
I almost feel like this plot synopsis is more coherent than the film. Koopa's girlfriend, Lena, obtains the rock but dies merging the worlds. The worlds separate again when Mario, Luigi, and Daisy remove the fragment from the meteorite and Koopa pursues them. Mario and Luigi obtain devolution guns, which look like super scopes, and use them to defeat Koopa by devolving him into primeval slime. Daisy's father is restored as king somehow, and the citizens celebrate and immediately destroy anything with Koopa's likeness. That turns out
like literally right away. They're like, painters are out there painting over the poster within a few minutes.
Daisy decides to stay in Dino Hatton, kisses Luigi goodbye because Mario, your princess, is in another castle, as she opens the portal for him and Mario to return to Brooklyn. 3 weeks later, Daisy arrives at Mario and Luigi's apartment in Brooklyn because they think they're going to get a sequel and ask him to help her on a new mission.
Well, I think this might be a good... well, I mean, it's the outline of the film, but it might be a good outline for us to go through and talk about things. So, the opening with it reminded me of a 90s computer video game.
Yes, it did.
In fact, that's probably the engine they used to create it.
It was like Oregon Trail.
not
that bad, but
well, I guess similar quality.
It just makes you wonder why they ran out of their budget on those cars.
Yeah, so Mario asked the question, what if the dinos were not all destroyed?
He's not Australian.
I'm trying to do Brooklyn here. I can't
Oh,
quite do
okay.
it, What if the dinosaurs were not all destroyed? What if the meteorite somehow created a parallel universe in which the dinosaurs continued to evolve and for some reason evolved into humanoid? I think that had more to do with the production budget and the need to save money than anything else. The more people they can have without makeup, the better, right?
Yeah, I really wanted to bring that up at some point. How did the dinosaurs evolve into humanoid mammal humans?
Yeah.
How do we even say this?
I know. Well, what's interesting...
Hairless apes. How?
I'm certainly not an expert on the theory of evolution or biological evolution, but as I've heard it, apparently we do much further back than our than where we branched off from a mutual ancestor that we have with other primates. If you go much further back, apparently we have reptilian history So they say how they know that I have no idea. I don't know if it's the DNA sequencing or how they come to that conclusion. But I've heard that before. In fact, the what's up? Darn, I'm rusty on my neuroscience, but there's a part of our brain that is known as the lizard brain. If you
Oh,
will.
right. I think I've heard of that.
So it's the part that regulates all our autonomic functions.
You
know,
mean
like
the
your breathing, your blood circulation, reflexes, things like that.
the oblongata?
The medulla oblongata. I don't know if that's part of that system or not. You could call it. This is very simplistic, but the lower brain, if you will. But it's what governs, I believe, our fight, flight, or freeze responses. Like when our body alerts us to danger, and it reacts even before we're consciously aware that our body is reacting. I believe it's if I'm not mistaken, the lizard brain that does
Mine's
that.
broken. It goes off too much.
Yeah, well, that's a thing. And that obviously our brains are so complicated, but that is a theory. So it's interesting. So in a sense, you could say, like within the storyline of this movie. Nerds, we would love to find out who is on the other side of the microphone. There are multiple options by which you can connect with us. Our Instagram handle is @irreverent_nerds. We are on Facebook and YouTube as simply The Irreverent Nerds. Makes sense, right? And of course, we are on your podcast app. If you listen on Spotify, scroll down through the episode description and you will see a question. What did you think of this episode? We welcome your feedback, including your constructive criticism. We also post episode-specific polls and questions from time to time on Spotify, so please feel free to jump in and give us your 2 cents. All right, nerds, I've talked enough. Let's get back to this week's episode. That 65 million years ago, there was a branch created, and one of the branches got to grow within a parallel universe. But yeah, it's a little too convenient that they somehow evolved into beings that look just like Homo sapiens.
Yeah.
That's a little ridiculous, I think. But again, it's probably to save money on
Yeah.
the production budget.
Yeah, and so Daisy, who I also have questions about, looks indistinguishable from every other human girl on the planet.
Yeah, you can't tell. You can't tell. So
I broke Richard's brain.
sorry, I'm trying to read the beginning of the plot here at the same time.
Oh, sorry.
So apparently, Dino Hatton apparently is the only civilization in this alternate dimension. Like it's almost like an alternate planet. Like you see a globe at one point that Koopa is looking at. I think it's Koopa.
Yeah.
Or it's like a hike. Yeah. Anyway, it's a representation of their world. So you have the city, and then everything else is desert, basically. So like the city is the only civilization.
It's like Mad Max. Everyone gave up being pilgrims and just moved to the city.
Yeah, no, I got a few Mad Max vibes, like, and maybe that was on purpose. But no, it reminded me of a lot of 80s films, which is made in 93, so like right after that period. So yeah, that makes sense that it would.
What kind of movie were they trying to make? Do you ever get this feeling that the director or script writers wanted to make an entirely different movie, but instead they were just told, "Oh, okay, you're making a Mario movie now"?
Well, obviously, as far as like what they were aiming for, which it had potential, that again, obviously they didn't quite pull it off, but it had potential because they were obviously trying to somehow bring it. I mean, it's live action, so they were trying to bring it into the real world somehow. So, like Mario and Luigi don't live in a world with Toad and walking mushrooms and bombs and Princess Peach, Koopa. They don't live in that world. They live in Brooklyn, right? So they were trying to, I guess, bring it and attach it to our world somehow. that could have worked, I think.
Yeah. It could have worked. I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff they did in this film. Strange directions and choices they made, but it could have worked.
Yeah, I think and this is where, like, in reading up about this beforehand, one of the criticisms, I think Siskel and Ebert at the time, a criticism that they had was there was inconsistent tonality. So I think this is where it just goes too far over into goofy. Particularly I think of the car chases, like some of the car chases and like the mattress ride down the pipe, which was kind of fun on the one hand, but like tonally, it's like, and I'll be honest, and normally Alan Silvestri is great in terms of his music, but the music hurt this film, I have to say. And maybe Silvestri, from what I've heard, there were a lot of problems with the directors. They just were not easy to work with.
Oh.
At least according to Bob Hoskins, and I think at least one or two other people. So maybe Alan Silvestri had similar issues, and maybe he just didn't care. He was like, I'm phoning it in for a paycheck. But normally he, now this is obviously further back in his filmography, but the music, it was just bad. And I think he did Forrest Gump, literally the next year, which has much better music. I believe it was Silvestri, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was just doing this movie for a paycheck. He was
I want to say, I think he did the Back to the Future music.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, so themes. Now, one of the things with a composer, though, is that and some of that may have to do with contract work, I don't know, but they do have to work together with the directors. So if the directors don't know how to direct music, in other words, they don't know how to communicate what they want, or they're just stubborn and not willing to listen to a composer who knows more than they do about music, and they're just like, no, this is what we want. Either way, I'm not necessarily blaming Alan. It may not have entirely been his fault. But yeah, the music didn't help, particularly in the action sequences. I think it was too goofy, a little too goofy, I think. That took me out of those moments. Like they could have been better.
Oh, well,
even though there is sort of a bit of a comedic tone throughout the film, the tonality reminded me a bit of the American Godzilla movie.
Huh.
I don't know if you got any vibes of that this time around.
Well, I don't know what to say to that. The American Godzilla film was
Matthew Broderick.
That was at least more believable.
Yeah, it was a little bit more, and it got.
I own that one too.
It had similar tonality problems though, because it's like on the one hand trying to be somewhat serious, but then it just comes off goofy sometimes when it's not meaning to be, I think.
Godzilla.
But then maybe that is similar to the tones of all the Godzilla movies, though. Is that fair to say?
Well,
that might be too big. That might be too big of a tangent to go down.
I forget what there was this big period of Godzilla films up until the 70s that were just way goofy, and they didn't. It was just that's just how the kaiju films were right at that time period, I guess. Especially as Godzilla was becoming more kid friendly, but that's for a different podcast episode. So
how about let's get back on point here. Let's get back to the plot. You asked a question, so we're going back to early on in the film here. I've got some notes on. We see a what we think might be a baby dropped off. Then it's an egg, dropped off with this at this Catholic orphanage, and you don't see the egg hatch right away. So at first I was wondering, like, is this Yoshi? Like, why is a humanoid woman dropping Yoshi off at a Catholic orphanage? I wasn't sure. And then later,
that makes sense. I understand why you would think that, because in Super Mario World, that's the only place we see eggs in the Mario movies.
Yeah, like
and they hatch Yoshi.
Although, did that come out before this film? Like the Super Mario World? I
No,
think on Super Nintendo.
I'm pretty sure it came out before this movie.
Is it 92?
I mean,
Somewhere in
this
there?
movie does include Yoshi later in it.
Yeah, so I guess it must have. It was 1990 when that came out, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, one of the best Mario games
My favorite.
of all time. Yeah. I did not have a Super Nintendo, but I played it enough at Toys R Us that I know it's great.
I beat the thing a
Nice.
long time ago. I borrowed it from somebody. And you know what? Talking about the video games and just what this movie gets right and wrong, I want to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, let's see. With the nuns, though, okay.
Oh yeah, the
I don't know
nuns.
where to
Let's
go
get back
first,
to that.
but you said something about. I mean, you were kind of cracking a joke, but like how
Yeah.
it might have changed their faith. Like it's like, is this the second immaculate conception?
Yeah, that was just a joke, really.
Baby in an egg. At first, I thought it might be Luigi. I was like, is this Luigi? But then we eventually find out it's Daisy. Did you have any more you wanted to say about that?
No, I was just cracking a joke.
Yeah.
But be my guest, exploring that all you want to.
No, we don't need to go too deep down that rabbit hole.
So, were you surprised when there was a baby in it?
I was actually, because again, at first I thought, like, is this Yoshi? So yeah, I was a little surprised, but not completely. I was like, okay, this is either Luigi, but then once we start to figure out, you start to get hints that Daisy is more than just an NYU archaeology student. You know, I eventually put two and two together, and I was like, oh, that was her. It's like, okay,
Yeah. It's a little, since I've seen this thing half a dozen times or more, I was not confused. But speaking of Daisy, it's really weird. I mean, did you pick it up? The princess's name in the game is Princess Peach Toadstool. This is Daisy. Daisy only appeared in one video game, Super Mario Land on the Game Boy.
ah,
And they chose her of all characters. And you know, this actually did have an effect on the video games, apparently, because after this, Daisy becomes featured in the games during the N64 era onward, and is the cousin of Princess Peach Toadstool and Luigi's love interest.
huh, okay.
Um,
Well, that's kind of cool, actually. Like some things from the movie made it into the video game world. That's kind of cool.
kind of bizarre, but I mean, I'm all for Luigi having his own princess, but
Yeah, why not? Why should Mario have all the fun?
yeah, I mean, there were a lot worse things could have been taken out of this film.
Yes. Although it would have been a little bit fun, I think, maybe to see the Goombas in a Mario game. Have they ever made an appearance? I can't think of one. It's like I've played Super Mario 64, which I would rate right up there with Super Mario World. Excellent game.
Bruh,
But yeah, I can't think of ever seeing Goombas.
bruh. Goombas have been around since the first Mario game. Well, not the first Mario, the first Super Mario game.
Wait, they're called Goombas?
Yeah, they're called Goombas. They're those little brown mushrooms with the fangs that waddle on the ground.
Oh, well they messed that up then.
They did.
They made them into like giants with tiny dinosaur heads.
Yeah. Isn't that bizarre?
I thought I had heard the term Goomba before, but then they confused me with having them have the dinosaur heads, and I guess it's been too long since I played Mario Brothers in any significant way.
Fun fact, Goomba is also the Italian word for a thug.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. Closer, so they decided to go closer to the Italian meaning than the video game meaning.
Well, except for the fact they're all wearing brown coats and the Goombas are brown. That's about the only connection. And I guess they dance, kind of.
Oh my goodness. So the elevator dance scene. I think you turned to me.
Scene in the movie.
Best scene in the movie. and it has more play after that too. Like what, 2 or 3 times? Actually plays a significant role later on.
Plot device.
that and the pizza. You don't forget the pizza.
That was just payoff. So you thought we forgot you ordered a pizza. No, it's in here too. We didn't forget.
I kind of liked that actually. That was fun. That was fun. It was like, where's my pizza? It's like, sir, your pizza's here. Not now.
Yeah, I love how they had to shoehorn that in just so they didn't have a loose plot thread.
Oh.
So,
Dino Hatton. Oh man, sorry.
Yeah.
Another rabbit hole, but my brain just flashed to the Dinosaurs sitcom from the 90s.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Remember that?
Not the mama. Huh?
I don't think I was allowed to watch much of it, but it's just one of those things where you just see it around. You know, there were toys, I think of it, and like, but yeah, my brain just went to that.
Didn't John Goodman play the father, or there's just something about that character that reminds me of John Goodman?
Probably because Roseanne came out around the same time.
Yeah, like, probably, and they both wore flannel.
You never know though. Oh yeah, didn't he? He also played Fred Flintstone in the Flintstone
in the
movies,
live action.
right? The live action ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then wait, who's his wife? Was it Nicole? It wasn't Nicole Kidman, was it? Was Nicole Kidman?
I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember. I know Rosie O'Donnell played Wilma.
Yeah.
Not Wilma. Barney's wife. Whatever Barney's
Betty.
wife. Betty.
So we're walking that dinosaur. I guess we should walk on back to Mario.
Yeah. So Daisy learns she's descended from dinosaurs and the long-lost princess of the other dimension.
It doesn't cause her to have a breakdown at all.
So do we want to spoil...
Spoil it.
Spoil the fungus.
I like the fungus.
Yeah, no, like the way they wove it in there made it interesting. It was more than just, you know, toadstools sitting around, them jumping off it, you know, or eating one to get bigger or something. Yep.
You can go get one of those mushrooms that make you bigger down at the pharmacy, you know.
That's our sponsor, by the way. You can grow 3 inches with shrooms. And that's
may have hallucinogenic side effects.
Yes, but that only adds to the
Ask
experience.
your doctor if shrooms is for you. I just watched an X-Files episode in season 2 where shrooms were behind the whole thing.
Nice. By the way, this is a preview. We are working on an X-Files episode for the podcast, and my wife is going to join us because she and I have been watching it together. We're just about to finish the entire series. We've been watching together since our first year of marriage.
Wow.
We're just about to finish season 11. But yeah, like Will's going to join us too, but we're going to talk about season 1 of the X-Files. So that may be next month. We'll see if we get it done in time, but it's coming up. It's going to be one of our sci-fi features of the month, which this is the sci-fi feature for this month, which I know we stretched that a little bit, but this does definitely, I think you could call it sci-fi action adventure, right? Like sci-fi action. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely sci-fi elements in this film.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't even talked about the evolution, de-evolution rays and guns and machines yet.
Oh, yeah. Like, somehow King Koopa has developed the technology to de-evolve, or we find out a little later in the film, evolve citizens of his Dino Hatton.
Speaking of which, when the worlds do merge and they cross over, I know I'm jumping here a bit in the plot, but he de-evolves Scapelli. Is Scapelli a Don? Does the monkey that is produced from Scapelli, is this Don Kong?
Oh, that should be a meme now. Dang it! I gotta find a picture. I gotta find a picture of that scene and use that because that's good. He's a mafioso don.
That was definitely not something I picked up as a kid, but I picked it up coming into this. Just
Hey, you come here today on the day of my daughter's mating, and all you bring me is a banana? What do you think I am, a monkey? I'm a chimpanzee. I'm an ape. I'm not a monkey. Even though they called me one, I'm not a monkey. Get that through your skull. No.
so, what do we talk about next?
The devolution guns. So the first person or character who gets devolved is Toad, which I'm wondering. I need to look. Well, actually, let's look up the cast. Let's see if it says who played Toad, because I'm wondering if it was like a well-known musician, or at least someone who was well-known at the time. Mojo Nixon
Dun dun
as
dun.
Toad. I have no. Who is it? He is an American. Mojo Nixon, born Neil Kirby McMillan Jr. Why he changed his name to Mojo Nixon?
Yeah,
Is an American musician and actor,
I
best known
wouldn't
for his
change my name to
humorous,
Nixon.
irreverent novelty song "Elvis Is Everywhere," which was an alternative staple on MTV. His style can generally be defined as psychobilly.
Is that a thing?
Apparently so. It's a musical genre which blends rockabilly with punk rock.
I have never heard this monstrosity
Psychobilly.
before.
So,
I must go
so they
and
recruited
learn.
a psychobilly. He currently hosts Loon in the Afternoon radio show on Sirius XM. For those that still listen to Sirius XM,
Hey, look, he was
he's from-
born in
he's from Chapel Hill. Ha! That's hilarious. He wrote a song called "Jesus at McDonald's."
Well, we have to look this up now. It's got to be the song that plays when we close.
Yeah, we need to find it. Get the rights or something. Oh my goodness. So Mojo Nixon plays Toad as we're introduced, but then for some reason, well, probably because he's like, I don't want to be walking around wearing a suit. Some dude named John Pfeiffer plays Goomba Toad because he gets devolved into a Goomba.
And even though his head is the only thing that gets devolved, his body becomes massive.
I know, like his body gets huge, but then his head shrinks. Either that or it's just disproportionate. It does. Well, no, it is
sure
smaller.
He's much taller.
Like, yeah. Oh, that's hilarious. I just saw Frank Welker
Really?
does Yoshi
Wow.
and the Goombas. So Frank Welker, for those of you who don't know, is a very well-known voice actor.
Look, Dan Castellaneta
He's the narrator.
is the narrator. He's Homer Simpson.
Yeah. And Frank Welker, I'm sure he's done voices on The Simpsons.
Oh,
Let's
I'm
see.
sure. He's been on Scooby-Doo, The Real Ghostbusters, a lot of things, hasn't he?
Oh yeah. He's all over the place. Transformers. Oh yeah, I think he does Megatron. He does a bunch of voices in Transformers. Nice. Wow. So filmography on Wikipedia, like you got to go to a separate entry just to see his filmography. That's how much he has.
Wow.
But yeah, with voice acting, I mean, you don't have to invest as much as time as you would with live action, typically. But yeah, like, that's great.
If I remember correctly, he was Ray Stantz and Slimer in Ghostbusters, but the Real Ghostbusters. Well, that's crazy. He was in this film.
Lance Henriksen. Oh, okay, that's who that was. So the king. So I know we're jumping around, but like, so we find out so you see throughout the film that the fungus is intelligent because it's communicating with Luigi. It shows intent. It does things to help Mario and Luigi on their quest. And we eventually, and this is actually a big reveal, like we find out that the fungus is a person, namely Daisy's father, the former king, and he'd been devolved but kept alive by Koopa. But then Lance Henriksen, like at the very end, he gets evolved back into his former self at the very end. And I couldn't quite tell who it was because they only show him very briefly. But it's Lance Henriksen, who was in Aliens.
Oh.
He played the android in Aliens.
Oh, okay. Speaking of him being de-evolved into a mushroom fungus everywhere, do you think that's a reference to Super Mario Brothers 3 where all the kings were turned into stuff? That was magic, though.
Yeah. Probably not.
Probably not? Okay.
Although, I don't know. You never know. You never know. They might have gotten some ideas from there.
I want to talk about this Daniela character just for a second. Who in the world is Daniela? Because watching this thing, I was just thinking, as a kid, I didn't put that much thought into it, but as an adult, I'm just like, is this Pauline from Donkey Kong? Is this Mario's first girlfriend?
You're probably thinking too hard about it.
But it's Daniela. Who in the world is Daniela? I am thinking too hard about it.
Well, since they grounded it in the real world, and the Mario brothers are living in Brooklyn, and Mario or Mario is a little older. He's got a girlfriend, and this is like something straight out of an '80s movie with like starring Nick Cage or something. He's got an Italian girlfriend. She's got the tight short dress.
Yes.
With the low cut top, and then of course the Brooklyn accent. This very stereotypical. And yet she's a nice person, and so is he. So it's like, but yeah.
I think they just should have called her Pauline.
Pauline. But yeah, that's a
me.
that's a stereotype I've seen in a lot of like 80s and 90s movies, like the kind-hearted but somewhat ditzy broad from Brooklyn kind of shtick,
So, I also want to talk about Big Bertha, but I don't want to hog the microphone.
No, man, go ahead.
So, Big Bertha, I had to look this up earlier today because I didn't know, is Big Bertha based on something from the video games? And apparently, yes. It's based on the giant fish from Super Mario Brothers 3 that keeps trying to eat Mario. So, in the movie, Big Bertha is a bouncer at the Boom Boom Club, or whatever it's called, the Boom Boom Lounge. I don't know. And she has a thing for Mario, so I guess Big Bertha went from literally being a man-eater to being figuratively a man-eater.
Yeah, her and so I guess about the midway point of the film, Mario and Luigi have to go to a club to get the meteorite piece back from Big Bertha, who stole it from them. And yeah, it's like, oh, this is a little racy for a PG movie. But maybe not. I mean, Dick Tracy was PG. I think so was Roger Rabbit. So maybe not that much. But it is a club, and there's some like mildly scantily clad.
Yeah,
nothing too serious. Like, but yeah, it's a club, and she's apparently the bouncer for the club, the Boom Boom Club.
Speaking of Roger Rabbit, Bob Hoskins played in that too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Around the same time. This was like the year before this, I think, or something like that, right? 92?
It was probably a much better film.
I don't know. I've never seen it. Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah, Roger Rabbit's good. We should see it sometime.
Yeah, maybe so.
It's about the only time you'll be able to see Donald Duck and Daffy cuss each other out.
Oh, that'd be great. Oh, my goodness. Speaking of Disney characters cussing each other out, there was this, you know how like, well, you're not on Instagram much, but on Instagram there's this, when people do reels, someone will do one with an audio that becomes popular, and you can take that audio and then use it on your own reel, so you can like redo it. You can lip sync to it if you want.
Like TikTok. TikTok
is it
does
like TikTok?
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know who originated it, Instagram or TikTok. One of them copied. One of them copied the other probably. But either way,
they're probably all owned by the same company for all I know.
Yeah, who knows? Some conglomerate in China or something. Yeah, Zuckerberg's just a puppet. No, no. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. You distracted me.
I killed Richard's brain.
What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So not that it's that important, but there was this one going around for a while, and a bunch of people used it for like pretending like they were staying at the Disneyland hotel, but the audio basically is like Mickey comes banging on
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
Goofy's door. He's like, "Open up, you bleep bleep." And you're like, "Goofy, open up, you bleep."
And they wake up and they're like, "What's going on next door?"
Oh, it's hilarious, but I mean, I know we do have an explicit rating here, but you know, it's pretty bad. But he's just banging on. It's like, Goofy, open up. He's like, "Mike me, bitch." It's hilarious. And then Donald.
Well, I mean, your impression, that was pretty good.
Oh my goodness! So it's like, "Open up, you MFer." He's like, "Mike me, bitch." And
Oh my
And then
gosh.
Donald gets involved.
I didn't know you could do Goofy.
And then, oh yeah, you haven't seen my. It's actually on the Irreverent Nerds page. I did a Disney After Hours. I think I sent it to you, didn't I?
I probably saw it, but just forgot.
Yeah. Well, I toned that down because originally I was thinking of like doing a recast of that audio. And then Laura was like, "Don't do that, please don't do that." She gets disturbed enough when I do Mickey Mouse, but then he's like banging on the door and dropping F-bombs. But yeah, they get in a fight. Like Goofy and Mickey and Donald get in a fight in this audio. But what a lot of people did on Instagram was like they record themselves like laying in bed, and it's as if there's a fight going on at the Disneyland hotel. It's like what you hear when you can't sleep at Disneyland. Open up the door. Donald. Yeah, and I think Donald gets in, and then Mickey's like beating Donald. It's pretty bad. But it's the first time I saw it, I just laughed so much. It's hilarious. This Hispanic guy did his version where he's like laying in bed and like he gets progressively more and more shocked as it goes on.
I saw that.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw that.
It was great. Anyway, something made me think of that. I don't know where we left off. Sorry guys, we went down another rabbit hole.
My cheeks hurt. Laughing.
Speaking of going down rabbit holes, I mean, there's a sense in which this got some Alice in Wonderland vibes. Like they go down a hole, and granted, it's a little different because they go through a rock into another dimension, but still, they had to go down the hole, to get into Wonderland, so to speak. Although it's not so wonderful, which Wonderland wasn't either, because it was ruled by an evil queen. But yeah. So, what we should probably read our notes. What are some other things we should talk about?
Yeah, let's get the notes out. We talked about that. Well, the bomb. Did you notice the bomb is the most game accurate thing in this entire movie?
Oh yeah, although for some reason he's wearing Reeboks. That's hilarious. Like his little. I mean, it's one of those like wind up toys that walks, and then right at the very end, before the bomb blows up under Koopa's feet. Like you see the bottom of the Bob-omb's feet, and it says Reeboks. Reebok. That's probably
hilarious.
Oh, that what do you call that? The marketing where it's like in movie marketing. I wonder how much Reebok paid for that.
Too much. That's how much they paid. Too much.
But I thought that was hilarious. So I was like, Reebok? What?
So here's a note I wrote down. In this movie, Koopa, he's called King Koopa. He's called President Koopa. And there are posters everywhere that says "Vote for Koopa." Who was he running against? Did they even have someone else to vote for?
That's a good question. I don't know. But then they also say he's already the president. So, like, I guess he's running for re-election?
I guess.
Maybe Big Bertha was running against him. I don't know.
No, she was too alive. She'd be swimming with the desert fishes.
So we did something I remarked on, and you agree with me. This is going back more towards the beginning of the film, but Daisy's quite naive there.
Yes.
I mean, I know you could say, well, she had intuition about the fact that Luigi and Mario were kind-hearted humans, but like, she literally just meets these guys, and within like 5 minutes, she's taking a ride in their plumber van. like she just met Luigi, and he gave her money for a payphone. But then she like hops in their van, and then later like that same night she goes on a date, a double date with them, and then goes with Luigi to an isolated archaeological dig. And at first I thought they're just going to be there right in front of the broken bridge, but no, they go down in a tunnel, just the two of them. And I'm like wow, this is for a girl that grows up in New York. This is really dumb.
I think she's just dumb.
Yeah, young and naive.
Bad writing.
Thankfully, Luigi obviously turns out to be a good guy, and maybe you could say, well, maybe she had an intuition for that, but still, yeah, you don't do that with somebody you literally met that day.
We have a van.
It's like
That was
from
the last
Frozen.
time they
It's
ever
like,
saw
you got
her.
engaged to someone you just met. It's like you went down in a tunnel with someone you just met. But again, it turns out it was fate.
Fate.
Because yeah, Luigi ends up saving the day. Him and his brother Mario.
Mario. So, you mentioned that you were wondering who designed the Yoshi puppet.
Yeah, I wonder if it probably says somewhere here because it's the anime, because this is literally the same year that Jurassic Park came out. So I immediately thought of Stan Winston's production company, or Stan Winston's company, and I'm gonna look and see if it says. I don't know if you know.
No, I don't know. Well, there's creature effects.
Yeah, and they decent amount, like some CGI, definitely makes it in the film, and it's pretty decent actually. Let's see. Oh, looks like some of this was filmed in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Huh.
Ha!
I feel dirty now.
They located the deserted Ideal Cement Company plant in Wilmington, North Carolina. Found the location a unique opportunity. Yeah, because Wilmington has quite a few. I mean, movies are made there. Probably the most famous thing to be made there is Dawson's Creek. Back in the day, a TV show. Oh, this is why it reminded me of Blade Runner. So apparently one of the people working the film was an art director for Blade Runner. So that's why it reminded me of Blade Runner. I was like, just the way they laid out the city.
Yeah.
It evoked Blade Runner in my mind, like the original Blade Runner. So this is why one of the same art directors worked on both films. So that makes sense.
That makes sense. Looks like Patrick Totopoulos.
Patrick Topoulos was aware of the concurrent Jurassic Park production, so he consciously designed the dinosaurs for Super Mario Bros. To be more cute and cartoon-like, with inspiration from Beetlejuice.
I have no idea how he got Beetlejuice out of that.
He described Yoshi as an abstract fantasy T-Rex. Says producer. Oh, this is cool. Producers from Jurassic Park visited the set and were so impressed with the Yoshi puppet they briefly considered hiring its engineers for a second Jurassic Park creature shop. Cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I know.
cool.
Like it was up to that level of quality, like where they had the robotic velociraptors. It immediately reminded me of that. So I thought like maybe Stan Winston's studio was involved, but apparently not. Just some other very talented people. Lead creature designer and supervisor Patrick Totopoulos.
Hey, there's a interesting factoid. The Goombas were only background characters, but their final designs were so impressive that directors Morton and Jankel promoted them to main characters with major stunts. What did this film? What was originally written to have taken place before this happened in this movie? What kind of film did we miss out on?
Here's cool. The disintegration. This is like some trivia from production. The disintegration effect for the interdimensional merge was inspired by the transporter from Star Trek. No surprise. Different, but It's more like being
very different.
depixelated or something. But yeah, had more than 700 visual effects shots. So the film was scanned with a digital intermediate. But apparently this was the first film to have used the software Autodesk Flame, which is now an industry standard for visual effects. So it broke some ground in visual effects, which is kind of cool. But yeah, it did not receive very good critical response, despite that.
No.
28% on Rotten Tomatoes, based on an average of 43 reviews. See, the site's consensus states, despite flashy sets and special effects, Super Mario Brothers, I'm going to keep saying that, Mario Brothers, is too light on story and substance to be anything more than a novelty. Let's see, Metacritic gave it 35 out of 100, so 35% based on 23 critics, who indicated generally unfavorable reviews. But audiences, at least on CinemaScore, gave it a B+. That's on a grade scale from A+ to F. So apparently it was popular, at least on CinemaScore, with audiences. I'm curious, IMDb usually says what the audience rating is. Let's see. Whoop. Will, say something while I'm looking for this.
Well, I'm curious what the audience rating was in '93. But Rotten Tomatoes, what it is today.
Oh wow! Yeah,
or did you say bad. Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb?
Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 28%, but that's based on an average of 43 critics reviews. But their user reviews are pretty bad as well. It's 4.1 out of 10, and that's with 57,000 reviews. So yeah, just over 40%. That looks like. It is growing in popularity, which makes sense because there's not been a Super Mario Brothers movie since this. I don't think. Hollywood probably got scared.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a rumor or if it's a fact, but story goes that Nintendo was scared so much to make another movie that they have not until today, with Illumination putting out the new Mario movie this month.
Yeah, and they had not done a film based on any of their properties until the Pokemon film that came out a few years ago. That was like the first movie, period, they allowed to get made. Since this one, that's how bad, that's how much it scared them.
And it's a conversation for another time, but I'm confused if that's Pokemon is Nintendo or if it's Game Freak / Pokemon Company. I mean, it definitely publishes on the Nintendo systems. But
yeah, I guess. I mean, I imagine, like, was Mario like fully Nintendo or
fully
other? It was. Okay.
Yeah, fully Nintendo. Zelda's fully Nintendo. Donkey Kong is fully Nintendo. Pokemon has an entirely different company behind it, but I'm not certain if it's owned by Nintendo. But that's just where I'm confused at. I know that it's produced and owned by Game Freak, which I think was renamed the Pokemon Company. But anyway, that's for a different time.
Yeah, so we're speaking of time, we're coming up on the end of the episode here, and so we're gonna wrap things up. But yeah, we kind of bounced all around the place, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I did. Like, we went a little hard on it at times, but I enjoyed this. And again, it's the nostalgia factor. Like, so many 80s sci-fi movies, which I kind of have a soft spot for. Even the ones with Arnold. I mean, obviously Terminator is. I mean, there's some awesome 80s sci-fi, honestly, but the production design reminded me a lot of that, which makes sense. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I had fun. I had fun watching it. Now, I got a little bored in parts. I think some of the action scenes in particular were just not well done. Some of the dialogue was very clunky. Dennis Hopper was obviously mailing it in, and by the way, why did he have dreadlocks?
Why did he? I think it was supposed to look like horns or something,
or scales.
Yeah, scales.
I guess. Yeah, it wasn't actual dreadlocks, but it looked pretty darn close. They used like must have been some really powerful hair gel,
Ha ha ha.
or he had a wig. I don't know because he doesn't have blonde hair in real life. But yeah. Oh.
So, before we close, I noticed. I just want to poke fun at this for a second.
Mm-hmm.
That one of the plot devices that gets the Mario Brothers crashed out in the desert is that the cars have no brakes.
Mm-hmm.
We even see a police car being stopped by a big rubber band like thing.
Oh yeah.
But then later, when the bomb-bomb's there, someone stomps on their brakes and the car just stops.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it's only certain cars that don't have brakes. You know.
Yes, we'll just say that that's the excuse.
So we're gonna leave you with a couple of good quotes, both from Luigi. Obviously, the one that's probably the most well known is Mario. You know, he's looking at Mario. This is like the penultimate scene. You know, we're at the climax. You know, they're about to save the day, and he's like, "Mario, trust the fungus." But then the other is when a character dies and she gets like embedded in the wall as a fossil. It's like he smiles. He's like, "Man, she really made an impression." I was like, "Wow, that's some dark humor, Luigi. Very dark."
That woman just died.
I know. It's like that's dark, man. Where you going? Where you going there, Luigi?
We have to make this moment light for the kids.
I guess. What I was like, her hair even gets fossilized. You know, saw that like she's like
instantaneous.
She looks like the alien queen there up on the wall or something. Like, you know.
Take that science. I'm picking. I thought fossils were supposed to take like a long time to be made.
Yeah. Well, it depends. There have to be certain circumstances.
Oh, okay.
Usually something cataclysmic because it has to be buried very quickly under a lot of mud and pressurized and like so that it just stays there.
Well, I guess that was cataclysmic.
It was cataclysmic, that's for sure. So hey guys, so Super Mario. By the way, something I found on the Wikipedia page, they referenced information from a site which is dedicated. Apparently, it's been around since 2007, but dedicated to this film. It's Super Mario Brothers: The Movie Archive. You guys should check it out if you are interested in learning more about this film. It's smbmovie.com. That's smbmovie.com. Looks like they're also on the social medias, on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and looks like they might have a podcast as well. I'm not sure. It's an RSS feed. But yeah, there's quite a bit on there. I've not had a chance to look all through it. But yeah, it's been around for a while, and they have merch as well. Like,
cool.
If you want some T-shirts, I'm tempted to look into this myself, especially now since I've seen it. Plumber alert!
This is the shrine by which we worship this film.
Yeah. It was started by a fan of the film, and apparently this site, like they were. I think you saw that too. Like they were responsible for, helping to get a, I don't know, if graphic novel or a comic.
Oh, so
like
these
a
people
sequel,
are behind
basically,
that.
like a sequel made. Like they were involved in it. Like someone who is working in the industry helped them, but they did a lot of it, like in terms of the writing and the story.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. It just came up in a Google search, and I was like, I'm going to look into that later.
Yeah, so it's probably on the site here for sale, I would imagine. But yeah, they got posters, promotional flyers, all kinds of stuff on here. Press kits, toy catalogs from back in the day, toy brochures, sticker book. I mean, all kinds of stuff on here that they've collected.
Look, a coloring book.
Yeah, a Super Mario Brothers coloring book, like toys, music, home items, print media, video releases, cards, and stickers.
I remember those toys.
Yeah, let's see, toys. Yeah. Pogs. They got Pogs. This flashback.
Very 90s.
Now, what I want to know is, why does Luigi look black? Like he looks like a black man.
I don't know. Why is Luigi like 20 years younger than Mario with no mustache? Why is any of this
Well,
a thing?
they look. He looks like he's about the same age, and with the toy here. But yeah, he looks more black than Puerto Rican. So yeah, somebody goofed on the. Well, it's not. It's also the facial, like the design too. It's not just the coloring. But yeah, we're like.
I don't know. Maybe old John was like, I must distance myself from this film. No, you may not have my likeness. I can't believe they made a toy of the cop car.
Nice. Yeah, they got whatever. I mean, I imagine, I mean, that's probably, I don't know if the toys or DVD sales over the years have helped it to ever break even. Like, it didn't make enough money on its film run to break even. It lost, like, upwards of, like, at least $4 million. The budget is repeatedly anywhere from 42 to 48 million, so it lost at least 4 million just based on the budget. And then that doesn't always include marketing costs either, so... but I am curious if the toys and DVD sales over the years have helped it ever break even.
I mean,
possibly the DVD
yeah.
sales, because it has become, as they say, a cult classic over the years. Which we watched it on DVD. We got it off Amazon for $4.
$4.
And yeah, it actually, I have a Blu-ray player, so it upscaled it a bit, probably up
Cool.
to maybe 720p, and it looked pretty good actually. I mean, it didn't have much CGI in it, so I think that helped. It was mostly, because some of those. The quality even reminded me, like I have a Blu-ray of Tim Burton's Batman, and the quality reminded me of that, like even on DVD. So yeah, don't bother springing for the Blu-ray if you want to buy it. Just get the DVD off Amazon. It'll suit you, because you won't be able to find it on streaming. I couldn't find it anywhere on streaming, even to rent. Like I couldn't even find it to rent. Like we were looking the other day, we couldn't find it.
Nope, not at all. Not even on YouTube.
Well, there was one on YouTube where a guy recorded. Like took a video camera and recorded his TV while he was watching it on TV.
Well, you don't want to watch that version.
No. And it was like in like 20 parts or something.
It's only a good thing that I wanted to own this movie, and after watching it, I mean, I was just on pure nostalgia. After watching it, I'm glad I didn't spring for the Blu-ray, but this baby gets to go home with me.
Nice. Sorry, I was just looking at Samantha Mathis. Wikipedia, when you highlight something, it has a little blurb on it, a link to its other. She was apparently the vice president for actors and performers of the SAG-AFTRA, which is the Screen Actors Guild, from 2015 to 2019. That's cool. That's cool. Anyway, random trivia for you right at the end here.
I'm glad they weren't prejudiced about her starring in this film.
Well, yeah, she probably did enough after that. Yeah, and apparently anyway.
I pick.
But yeah, I do wonder if the husband and wife, Rocky Morton and Annabelle Yankel, have ever done anything since. This may have ruined their career.
I heard it did. I heard it did ruin their career.
Looks like they started, or Annabelle started as a music video director. Wait. Rocky Morton is the co-creator of the TV series Max Headroom.
Why does that sound familiar?
It's this big thing from the 80s. Is that guy... dang it. I have to look it up now. Sorry, guys. We're going on too long here. But... yeah. Remember that? Max
Wasn't
Headroom.
that from... Oh, no, I thought that was
there
from
was
Back
like
to the Future for a second there.
Well, there was a version of it that you used to see on, I think it was Burger King commercials or something. I don't quite remember, but yeah, but it's the thing back in the... Oh, no, I know what it was. MathNet on PBS had like a knockoff of Max Headroom segment. Did you ever watch MathNet on PBS back in the day? Does that ring a bell?
Was that about...
It was like a play off a parody of Dragnet, but with math.
Was that a cartoon?
No, it was a live action.
No, I haven't seen it then.
MathNet. Wow, I haven't thought of that in ages. Hey guys, so thank you for taking this walk down nostalgia lane with us for a bit, and we hope you enjoy the episode. And yeah, like if you've never seen it, it's worth watching at least once. Especially if you're into 80s, 90s nostalgia, it'll bring you back to your childhood. Whether you saw it back then or not, it'll remind you enough of other movies that came out around that time. You'll be like, yeah, you'll take a walk down nostalgia lane.
Dark corners of nostalgia. With too many really weird cop cars.
All right, dear friends. May the fungus be with you.
Glug, 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 glug.
Glug, 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 glug. Okay, wait, we gotta time that. Ready?
Glug, 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 glug.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Irreverent Nerds podcast. If you would, consider following us on Instagram. We are there at irreverent_nerds. You can also hit us up on Facebook. Just look us up there at the Irreverent Nerds. That's our fan page. We have a YouTube channel as well. Once again, the Irreverent Nerds. Nice and simple, right? And if you go to www.irreverentnerds.com, that will send you to our Podcasters for Spotify, formerly Anchor.fm profile, where you can send us a voice message if you want to, support us financially, or listen to the podcast. It will also direct you to other places you can listen, like Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, you name it. So, like, comment, subscribe, follow, all those good things. Wherever you find us, wherever you listen to us, we would greatly appreciate it. Until next time, nerds, live long and prosper. Avengers assemble! I'm Batman.